position, background color, background images, how we can handle them, right? So when you are configuring the backgrounds, right, we learned about the background attachment and all, right? Next, another important option is when you are configuring the backgrounds, you can define background multiple options actually, multiple backgrounds actually. Multiple backgrounds means you can define multiple background images. So how we can multiple background images we can configure. Let's see one example here. Suppose let's open this. Yeah. So last session we learned how to use all these background options. Technically, if you want to define multiple backgrounds actually, usually there can be multiple background images. For example, suppose for the body we are configuring. So to keep multiple background images, actually the images are also important. They should be suitable, similar to that. Images must be suitable actually. For example, roughly I'm using MS Paint, and here I'm drawing some shape like this. I'm drawing some shape and with some color. So some color. Yep. So, and this I will keep as background. Yeah, this is one option we have. Control X. Suppose box 1. So we have in our shopping site images box 1. Okay, that we have configured. Next, another is there. So we are designing another image, right? So a little bit smaller. Here we defined some other color for that. Okay, so that is the color we added here. Okay, then this is box 2 PNG. Now we are displaying the images body. So for the body we want to keep the image. So background image, we need to define the background image. Then here we are defining. So background image. So background image. So we are setting an URL. And the image path, the first one is in images, dot images. In that we have box 1 .png. So that will be in the background. You can see that is in the background. That is box 1 in the background. Right. Now I'm defining some other option like another URL. That means I'm just configuring here after one URL, comma, another URL. And here we are defining images slash box 2 dot png, box 1 and box 2 dot png. When we are displaying this box 1 and box 2, and you can see that second image is not there. Why? Because we need to mention the repeating style, the position for both images. Actually, how many images you are defining, for all of them you have to mention the effects. Actually, two images you mentioned, then you have to define repeat background repeat. How the background repeat should be for first one? The background repeat for the first one, so I said some no repeat. How should be the background repeat for the second one? So some repeat X, like this. We are defining in this way. Still, the options are not there. Why? Because even you have to define the positions. Actually, positions, that means suppose I said background hyphen position. So background position I said center. So background position center. So that is one background position. This is one is for first one, this is for second one. Next one is this will be from top. So top center, that is the background position, and repeat directions. You can see both images are there now. That means we are displaying multiple images here in the background. So here the option, suppose the background, this is repeating, second one also repeating, then you cannot see that. You need to use reasonable effects. So this is not repeating, this is center, and suppose this is repeating. Like this you define. You can see like this. And you can define attachments. You can configure the attachments. So for example, this box 1, I removed box 1. So see, transparency is important. Actually, I don't have any transparency because it's like a box. We haven't designed in any photo publishing tool. Otherwise, my background white can be transparent for the box so that it can correctly fit onto it. So it is completely depend on how you want to display it. So positions, scrolling, everything you can lock and we can display. So you can add multiple images. Any number of multiple backgrounds you can set. Only the point is for every background, you need to keep the alignment in a proper way. And the positions need to be configured in a proper way. So that is important. So we can define multiple background images, which you can do by using this technique. So this is for defining multiple background images. And your images must be suitable. Means you should not take all large images. You should be careful in organizing the images. Later, I will tell you one more option where the images can be changing according to the responsive design. Based on the width and all, it will be changing, right? Initially, this is one option how we can configure. And important is we can define all the effects. In a shorthand way. All these are the background effects. So we have background related all these effects: color, background, position, and image attachment. So these are the background options. Actually, in background, when you are setting the background options, so when you are configuring the background, in the background options, so we have another important option is background clip actually. Background clip. The purpose of background clip is nothing but it indicates how to clip the background with regard to the padding, margin, and border. That means usually another option you have to know is about background clip. Background clip. It defines how the background is clipped with regard to box model. With regard to box model, simply box model means padding, border, margin, all this comes under the box model. So it defines how the background is clipped with regard to the box model technically. So usually we need to configure the background clip. So let's see how we can handle this background clip. Means how do we work with the background clip and use the background clip, right? So technically, when you are defining in a box, then it is suitable to a view actually. So let's see. I keep one paragraph here. Okay, let's clean up other paragraphs. So for this paragraph, so we are defining the effects. For the paragraph, we are defining the effects. Okay. So let's go to the paragraph P and just define the width as some 400 pixels and height as some 200 pixels and padding as 20 pixels and border as 2 pixel solid dark cyan like this. Okay. Now you can see the paragraph comprises of this appearance. Yeah. Let's keep the width as 500 pixels. Okay, some paragraph is. Now inside this text align initially, I said justify. Okay. Now padding is suppose 40. Okay. Now borders also defined with some 12 pixel. So some thick border is there. Okay. I want to put a background color or I want to put a background image. Actually, we want to define the background color or background image, right? So technically what we are doing here is we are setting a background image or background color. We can define the background image or background color. Some yellow, that is the background color. We can set that background color. Now the background color is occupied. So the background color is occupied everywhere. That means entire. So generally we want the background color to be displayed according to the box model. According to the box model, we want the background color to be displayed, right? So in that case, what we can do is, so we can say, so background clip. Background clip, you can see it can be up to border box. It can be up to content box. We can set the border box and we can set the content box. When I defined the content box, you can see it is applied only for the content box. applied up to the content box. If you define at the border box, then it will be applied at the border box up to the border box. So we can define up to the content box. It will display up to the content box. That means the background you can clip up to the border box or the content box or the padding box. You know all those three boxes. We can configure that. So that we can define by using a background clip. That is just to adjust according to that. That means box model means it includes content box, it includes border box, it includes padding box. What are these boxes? I already explained that. We can just define the background in this way. With the background color or background image, we can keep the content. So up to that particular specifications. So that is what actually we can define in the backgrounds, how we can define the backgrounds and configure the background. So these are all background related options, whether you define for body, paragraph, div, or any table or any another content. These are all background. Next, important, after understanding the backgrounds, how do we deal with the backgrounds? These are all options in the backgrounds. Now we need to understand about how we can configure the borders, backgrounds and borders. Usually, so border can be defined, and important here is generally in every styles we have a shorthand way. Shorthand way means, suppose I want to define background. So then I just define here. So background is a shorthand way. And here we can define all the effects, like we say content box, background content box. So background, suppose URL. So we are defining some images slash dot slash images slash some box 2.png. That means we are defining in this way. So we are adding like center, no repeat. Like we are adding center. Like this we are defining. The shorthand way of defining. That means we are configuring in a shorthand way. So usually all the effects can be defined here. There is no order for that. We can define all the effects in one option. That is shorthand way of defining. So already in the beginning itself, I told you, background is the shorthand option for all of them. So background property is the shorthand for defining all background effects. So we can define the background in a shorthand way. So that means background shorthand property. Background shorthand property where you can configure all the effects. So all options we can configure in the background properties. We can define all of them in the shorthand effects, right? So this is the background options. These are all the background options, right? So technically, we can add all these background in together in a shorthand way, right? Next option is borders. How we can manage with the border? What are the options with the border? Actually, border have so many options. We can define all those options with the border. Separately, border is just already we are using every day. These options we are regularly using. The border options are nothing but, so border, uh, the border, the border property is a shorthand, shorthand, shorthand for defining, defining, defining all border effects, border styles or border styles and effects. You can say border styles and effects. Usually border has a lot of styles and effects. Border has a lot of styles and effects. So border is the shorthand for defining all the styles and effects. Technically, we can configure all the styles and effects by using the border. How to use them? What are the options available for the border? How do we define the border related options? Let's see one simple one. Actually, so border usually have the border standard effects, like standard styles. What we have is the border properties we are having, like border color, border border color, yeah, border color. We have border style, and we have border width, border width, border style, border color, and border width. So individually we can define all these options. Individually we can define all these options, right? We can configure all these options. Technically, we can manage these options in all directions also, actually. That means every option has so many definitions internally how we can define them. Actually, when you are defining border color, we can say as, again, so border top color, so individually border left color, bottom color, so border left color, so border right color, like this you can define. When you are defining border style, again you have border left, border top style, same. So like border bottom style, we have border left style, we have border right style, and we have border, these are the options. These are the options, and important, usually border styles include, so we can define the border styles, like one is dotted, solid, dotted, dashed, groove, so many. All these are the border styles, actually, ready-made styles we have. And here we have an option like border width. Again, all these options are supported for the border width. Again, those options are supported. That means border top width, so border bottom width, so width. So we have border left width and border right width. We have even images also we can define for border images also we can define. First we will see this, what are the border color, border style, and border options, how we can configure them. So how do we define this? Actually, technically, border options, when you are configuring, these are the attributes we have. Depending on that, we can define the border effects in all directions. Actually, in all directions we can configure, in all directions we can define, right? So that means, so we can configure so borders with all this. Actually, as I told you, border, we can have an image, border image. We can define border images. With the border image, we can have so many options like border image, outset. We have like border image repeat. We have like border image slice. We have like border image source. We have like border image width. All these are present. We can configure. And actually border image is the shorthand way. For all of them, the shorthand way is, so here this is border color is the shorthand way. Border style is the shorthand way. Border width is the shorthand way. Border image is the shorthand way. Already that border image is the shorthand way. And we can define all these options for the border. And we can even define, so we can define, so border radius. Border radius also, it will have all these options to define. That means border top radius. So border bottom radius, and border left radius, and border right radius. All these options we can configure. That's how we can display. So the borders and configure the borders. So backgrounds and borders, these are all the properties that you can define, right? So technically, how we can apply them, how we can configure them and use them. So individually you can write, or in a shorthand way we can define. So usually, let's take here, we have the paragraph already displaying the paragraph here. We want to set a border for that. So usually what we are configuring here, currently there is no border there for that. Yeah, let's keep a border here. Suppose I am saying border. So here we can apply individually border left. Okay, border left I am defining as border left as double. So border left width how much? 2 pixel. So border color what? So suppose red. That means border left is double, 2 pixel and red. So that is how we are configuring, right? Similarly, actually we can define individual like border left color, border left style, border left width. We can configure these options like this. So border left color, border left style, border left width, you can configure in this. So technically when you are defining, so the border left radius also we can use, border left radius also we can define. So that means how many pixels radius. So radius, actually all directions radius is not supported. So because borders radius can be given for the actually. That means how the border radius are defined is just right. Given two options are important for the radius. Actually, border have top left radius. That's how we can define. We can say border top right radius. Like this, you have to define radius. And we have border bottom left radius. You have to use this, and border bottom right radius. Bottom right radius. This is how we need to define. These are the options actually. That means directly you cannot say, because it should come at corners. So border radius is defined at the corners. We have top left, top right, bottom left and bottom right. Those are the actually options for the border. So for example, so here we need to define this. Let's see, this is border left, and here I defined the effects for the border left. You can see the left border is in this way. That is the left border style we configured. And suppose I defined as 10 pixel red. This is the double border top. So similarly, so border right, also I need a double and 10 pixel and red color. Border right also this will come. Or I will just keep this as border top. It will get in this way. And what we will do is border right. I am defining as solid and 10 pixel and blue, like this I defined. Border right is like this. And border bottom, and this we can define as solid and 10 pixel, and we configured this as blue. Okay, you can see it will be in this way. That means the effect will be displayed in this way. That's how it is displayed. Every border we can give a different style, different appearance. So how you configure the border is your wish. You have to just know all these properties. And when you are defining the radius for the border, so we say border left, so top left, right? Top left and radius. Top left radius is 10 pixel. So top left radius will be 10 pixel. You see top left radius is 10 pixel. And border bottom right radius is also 10 pixel. Bottom right radius also 10 pixel. That means you can see only top left radius is 10 pixel, bottom right radius is 10 pixel. You can just display in any style that you want if you want to configure. All these effects we can define with a combination. All these we can define with a combination, right? You can define with combination. The images, you can also set the images instead of using the borders. How we can configure the images? So instead of this, you can keep the images. We can define the images. Just the image suitable images we need to keep. So border image, we have an outset, we have an repeat, you have a slice, we have source, we have width. All these options you can configure for the images border. Suppose we want to keep the border image. These are all the effects. I will just give you copy. And this is an example for a few options. So all the border options. This is an example of all the border styles, how we configure. One example we will try. So how to handle all this. Border images, if you want to keep any border image, usually what we have to do is actually border image property is configured with options. So the border image property, so it defined with border image. It can be defined with image can be defined with URL. This is the URL can configure border URL. So you can define the border. So I'm defining the URL. So image in images that is defined as border image. And usually, so that should be kept as border image, right? So in order to define the border image, usually, so in order to configure the border images, actually, so the images should suit the situation, and the images must be defined with the proper height and width, and all the placements also should be properly defined, because when you are defining some images, so you should know, already we discussed about the images height width, how to configure, right? How do we define and specify? Usually one simple uh, image related URL is not enough. Actually, we need to mention so many, actually you defined this. Suppose I defined 30. So that thickness and you need to also define the other effects for the border. So how do we define the effects for the border? How do we define the effects for the border? Let's see one simple example. Because in order to keep the border images, generally you can put an URL or you can keep some predefined effects also, like gradient colors, linear gradient colors. Those I will tell you in the next level. We will discuss about that. Let's see how we can properly define the border image, and we can apply the border images, right? So technically, so where you will see this type of border images is when you are designing the options like card styles and all. We can see the background border images and all, right? Usually background image comprises of some other properties also. One is the properties like, let's see here, border images. Border image, it defines the properties like border image outset. It defines border image outset. Let's create a table for understanding this. Means just the property and the description here. Border image outset is one important property. When you are defining border image, some important properties are there for the image. Border image outset is nothing but, actually it sets the distance which an border image out from its border box, actually, that is outset. That means distance with an element border image. So distance, how much distance it should be, outset from the border box, so that you can define outset. You have to actually configure that outset, so with certain pixels or some percentage, you can define the image. So you can define the outset applying for different directions also. That means outset is left, outset is right, outset is top or bottom, we can configure that, right? Technically, outside have the options, so defined in pixels. That means it is that can be, relative length or any type of relative length, we can configure that. That is outset. Actually, we have that outset. How do we define, right? Next important in the border, we have border image repeat. Border image repeat. Usually this border image repeat same like our background repeat. So it defines how the source image is adjusted to fit the dimensions of an element's border image, right? Actually, it can have the values like stretch. It can have the values like stretch. It can have repeat. It can have round. It can have space, or it can have round stretch. A combination we can define for them. That is what actually background repeat can be defined. And we can use a background, that is border image slice actually. Image slice. Actually, this image slice, it divides the image into different regions. Actually. That means from the element border, it will slice the image. That means it is used to divide the image into regions. That means actually it can slice the image. It can slice the image. Usually we can define the image. That means the number of points. That means you can define the number of points to slice. It requires the number of points to slice. How many points it need to slice? We can define that slice option, right? We can slice the image depending on different positions, and percentages also you can configure, right? That is actually image slice. Another option, border image source. Actually, border image source. Usually border image source, it defines the URL. It defines the image URL to display. Image URL. It defines the image URL. You know what is image URL, right? Or it can also use gradient colors as source instead of images. I will tell you about gradient colors. So it can also use gradient colors as source instead of using the image for border. So another, we have border image width. So actually this is for defining border image width. So it defines the border image width. So these are all the image related options. So technically, if I want to apply the border image, then how we can configure the border image. So we need to define combinations actually. We need to define the combinations. So first important is we need suitable image which can keep the contents in a correct way. So, and we need to keep a border also to keep the border image, right? Let's see how we can keep a border for border image, how we can manage. So we created some pictures. Yeah. So this is the paragraph and we have some options now. Let's put some border for this. How do we configure the border for this? So what we have to do is for paragraph, we have to set border. Suppose border, we are defining some 20 pixel. So a solid border. Usually 20 pixel solid border will be displayed like this. Okay. And I am using a transparent option for this. Border is transparent. There is nothing inside. So there is border, but border is transparent. Now I am defining. So the border image, we are configuring the border image. In the border image shorthand style, I am defining an image URL. And image URL, so it comes from images, some box1 or box2.png, box2.png. And here we need to define how many pixels. So 30, that is the width actually. And what is the border style? That means I defined round. That is the option we configured. Now usually, so it will define the border in this way. You can see the border is displayed in this way. We kept a border image and we are configuring the, actually border image is very large. Usually border image is large. So if we can use small images, then it will give us a better appearance actually. So that means this is how it is applying the border. And you can see border image is displayed. So depending on, say, suppose I said 10 size, and you can see 10, that means only 10 points it will apply. Suppose I said some 50 size, you can see more. That means how much spread you want for the border. Suppose I said some 60, then it will give the border like this. So our image means how much width you want, because depending on width only the spread will depend. So suppose I said 50, okay, it looks a better spread here. It spreads your image because every image that you taken, right, it should be a small one. Suppose this is box1.png and you can see it will be displayed like this. We have the border displayed in this way. So we are configuring a border. We are defining a border here. And this time the border is image. So the border is image actually. And very important is it depends on how you design your border. Actually, I taken a small image. So if you are using a border image, your border image should suit that situation actually. Means you should design border images in a correct way, then you can display it in a perfect manner actually. For example, see, our image is like this. Suppose if we have a border image, let's open the border image here. So the border image designed here. Yeah. So let's create a border image here. So this is the box 1. Okay. And when you are defining this, So we are configuring the border image like this. Suppose, so it is smaller. So like a diamond like this we have, right? And that is the border. You should have some combination, like another one I kept here, another one I kept here. That means we have some appearance like this. We are designing the border. We are configuring the border like this. Okay. And we need to put some effects also properly for this, right? And here we are applying different colors there, a combination of colors there. So for example, I kept here this as red, right? All the directions, and you have this. So this is the border image actually. This is the border image. That is box 1 image. And I'm using that box 1 here. I'm using that box 1 here. Now you can see that will be like this. The border will be kept like this. So how much percentage you are configuring for that? So that depends on the border. That means I defined some 30. That means it will make the spread more, right? I'm reducing this to some 60. Then you can see it will be more in this way. So we are defining the border. So, and we are configuring the border. You can see the content will fit onto that here. So that is generally how we define the borders. How do we configure the borders? You can see it will display like this. So based on what kind of image you have taken, so the border appearance will be there. So it's not like simply you take one image and you can apply the border and you will give the appearance perfectly. So we can even stretch. So I actually defined this. I defined this as a round, right? Instead of defining this as a round, suppose I defined this as a stretch, because effects I told you, right? You can keep round, you can keep stretch, you can keep repeat, you can keep space, you can keep round, stretch, the border image repeating, right? And I say stretch image, then usually stretch will display in this way. Usually stretch will display in this way. It is going to stretch the image and display the border image stretched. That's how we can display the image. The image must be suitable, right? So then you can get that appearance correctly. So different stretch styles you can define, different repeat styles you can define, and different gradients also we can define. Those gradients I'm going to discuss in the next level, right? We will discuss about how to use the gradients, then you will get more clarity on that, right? But this is so one option how we can manage. That means this is the stretch option, and I will just give you, this is an example of border image, and here I will give the original border image, how we kept the image. So this is the original border image. So if we designed the border image in this way, and we kept the contents accordingly, so based on that, so we can define different styles. That means you can keep here stretch. So you can keep here as a round. You can change those effects. Number of percent and the image that you want to display, you can configure that. So this is what actually we need to understand about working with borders. Usually how we define the borders and the backgrounds. With these borders and backgrounds, that means once you know how to design these borders and backgrounds, then based on that, we can create some card styles and appearances for our content. We will see some examples, means how we can use them and design. Generally, for example, card styles. Online, you will see different card styles. Suppose let's Google here in the images. So CSS cards. You can see CSS card designs. You can see this is one CSS card design. This is one CSS card design. So that means we want to design the content in this way. We want to design the content in this way. That's how we want to display. These are all the card styles. So these are the card styles. So these are the card styles. We want to display in the card styles. So this completely depend on so the borders. So the completely depend on the borders. So generally borders and backgrounds we and some text and some stats. These are the options defined. So these are the card styles. Usually these are the different card styles. These are the different card styles. That is, yeah. Suppose we want this type of card style. Suppose I am saving an image. Suppose card like on desktop, just to show you. And you can see, so this is the card image we are having. And the card image, so these type of cards we need to design. Now, how you keep the content correctly fit into them. So how you can manage the appearance in this way. This is important. Actually, you can try by yourself the card styles, how we can configure. Because in our previous examples, I showed you, so how we can create a display grids, containers, so flex, and how to display columns. I showed you display as a flex, so where we are displaying the content in this way. This is the flex display. So with the contents, we have the flex display. I want in this way, the content, the borders, the backgrounds, we need to configure in this way. How to manage this type of appearance is important, right? With the borders and shading. If you can try these kind of styles, that's good, that's great. I just searched randomly some cards and we want to display that card style there. Then how you can configure this, how you can display this. So let's see, first point here is according to the design, suppose I want to create a card and configure the cards side by side. Actually, the same effect we have to do because that is for width, height, inside the flexible and the divs, how much you want for them. These are the points. 3 divs are there. Usually what should happen, let's create one example and see, right? So let's go to one example and see. I will open our project. Yeah. So let's create a card style .html. Okay, so doc type HTML, so and head. Okay, in the body section I'm configuring a div and a class as container. Okay, and in this we have 3 other divs. So this is one div, that is one card, another div, another card, and here another div, another card. 3 cards we want to display. And usually this is just a heading like card 1, and this is the heading like card 2, and this is the heading like card 3. Okay, so initially displaying them, so we have a style, and in the container, so every div, so in the container every div is defined with width as suppose some 200, and the height also 200 pixels. Okay, and the border, so here I defined some 2 pixel solid. Okay, that is the border just initially. And when we run this, you can see initial display will be like this. And we are defining the container. So display as flex. So we are displaying as flex, and that will keep the flex display here. That is the flexible display. And important, you can give the padding and border as we already given here. Margin how many pixels and padding how many pixels. Suppose, so I said padding as 10 pixel, and margin so is some 20 pixel. Okay, that is the margin and padding defined there. It is there. Now in this we need to keep the content. So we need to keep the content so in such a way. That means here the first point is how we can add the images and configure them. How do we can configure the images and define them, right? So usually you see 3 options are defined in this. We have header, we have body, and the footer. Right, so here we need to display the effects. So how do we configure the top, bottom? Actually we need 3 options inside this. That means this requires 3 options here, right? So what are those 3 options at the top? Suppose I kept here inside this another div is defined there, another div is defined, right? So is my voice audible to everyone? Right. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Now here in this container we are configuring. In this container we are configuring the header, body, and footer like options we are configuring here. This div is having some options like we can keep an image. So we can keep the image here. We can display the images here. So image source is configured as images, some speaker.jpg. That is one image we are displaying. And you can see that image is here. And we are keeping that image here. And how to keep the image? That means we need 3 options inside it. This is one div that is for image, another div that is for heading. As per the just design here, some options we configured. Suppose heading 5 style. Suppose I defined as offers. Just we are configuring the offers, right? And below this we just kept another heading, and we are defining here like some what else is there, some post. This is some electronics, something like this. We configured the div here. and that is inside there, because our contents are not correctly fit into this now. Contents are not correctly fit into this. You need to keep these contents fit into that. That means this div have to fit the content into it. The image should correctly fit into it. Suppose if you think for, so this is header. So that means you think for defining any background image instead of direct image for this div. Suppose I put a class here as a card header. That is the class here. That means here we are defining as a card header. Card header. And card header is a div. So where we want to display some image. Actually, we don't have any content here. We don't have any content here. So if we don't have any content, how we can keep that? I will tell you in another way. We have area hidden contents to display. We will see that. Initially, I'm using blank space here. And here I am defining background image. Background image URL is it is from images some speaker.jpg. That is the background image for card header. Now important is this is having a background image. So we need the size and the positions and the other effects to define. Suppose we defined background size. So we defined as like contain, background size as contain, then it will contain into it. So background size, I defined suppose 100 pixels. So suppose I said 200 pixels and 100 pixels, 200 and 100 pixels. So that means this is background size we need to define. So background size I defined as some 200 pixels. That means it will keep the 200 pixels. It is too large for this. So I will put as initially contain, background as contain. Okay, background as contain. I defined as contain. It will be like this. And actually card header height width is not defined. So suppose for this card header height is 100 pixels. That is the card header height. Suppose it is 200 pixels. The header height is adjusted here. And of course, you know, you can remove the repeat directions. That means repeat how you can mention. That means we don't want background repeat. Actually, background is repeating. So background repeat. So no repeat. It will not repeat. Actually, it is only one, right? It will not repeat and it will contain there. That is the background image we have defined according to what kind of image you want to keep there. And height, that is for the card header, how much you are configuring. And important, you can see here, the border right related effects we can manage later because currently, so we are having that image there. And the top boxes, observe here the radius, how we can manage. That is for entire container div you have to define as border. So border, so we have option like top. So that means we say border top left. So we have top left radius is suppose some 15 pixels. Similarly, border top right radius also 15 pixels. 15 pixels. So similarly, border bottom right radius is 15 pixels. So border top is 15 pixels. We can use in a shorthand way. I'm giving all the options. Bottom right. So it is bottom left radius is also 15 pixels. And you can see it will be in that all directions. In that all directions. In that we have the card header. So we have the card header defined. Actually, we can have different images. For example, so I have some images. in the images, because similar to those images, if I want to keep some images, right, in the images. So suppose I have some images here. Let's go into this shopping, right? Yeah, so I will copy some images which are related to that in the images category, and we can keep them. Okay. So we have some HTML projects, some images. Yeah, these are all images. Similarly, like earpods, like Sony business, all these, I can keep them. I think already I have those images here. Yeah, those images, one, this is one, and this is two. Okay, these are the images I'm defining. Eiffel, Taj, like options I'm configuring, right? I'll just copy those two, and we can use for others. I will give here. And here I'm defining, suppose images, and we are using, so Taj.png. Okay, you can see that is the image, it applies there. And the background colors and effects you can apply. So options you can configure. And in between all the rest of the things we need to design. Now important here is, this is fine. So you can observe here, the background image is displayed. And we have some padding and spacing for the content. We have padding and spacing for the content. So padding is 0 pixel. That means it will be correctly defined in this way. And image, I need to fit with the cover. You can see that. For that, what you can do is, so wherever image is kept here, so top, so border, right? We can have border top left radius, 15 pixel, and border top right radius, that is also 15 pixel. Then we can keep that correctly fit into that. So the image need to be kept there. But actually that image is not an ordinary image. That is actually background image. We are keeping a background image. That background image should be kept with that style. So we can define for the background images also a different style. What is that style? Actually, I told you already, this is background image in the card. Now, if I am not using background image, I'm directly defining an image. These radius we can adjust, right? That means here in this actually we can keep an image source and images. So it is from images, and we are defining some Taj.png. Okay, the width and height we will adjust for that. So I am not using any background container now, because we need to individually handle that image. You can see that image is there here, and height and width for that image. So width, so I say 200 pixels. So that is the image width and height adjusted. We need to keep the contents correctly fit into that according to our requirement. So sometimes we can use background, sometimes we can use directly content there, right? So it depends on the situation. So here that is generally an image with kept with this type of style. For every card, we can configure in this way. Every card we can configure in this way. So that means, for example, rest of the contents, I hope you can design them. Rest of the contents, I hope you can design them. For every card, you can define a different style. At the bottom, you can keep some content, you can display some information in this. I hope you can manage this for others also according to the design, right? So this you try to do by yourself, this design, the three cards side by side, and the middle card height is little bit increased, and all the images must be displayed in this way, and the content should be inside that in the background in this way. So you try to do this exercise and post me if you have done successfully this. So this is just for your sample task. Already I have done everything, just only what you have to do. You have to design the body content and you have to design the footer content. That means every card will have a body and footer. Here, this is card header, and the same, the card header and card body and card footer, you need to keep here. And this is some efill, so .jpeg. And this is some efill, so something like this. And this is like some touch, like something like this. I defined some basic options here. You can see it will be in this way. And the bottom borders and everything that you try by yourself now. And you try to submit this example to me. So if you have done successfully by tomorrow, I will verify that, right? So I will post this sample design. You must be able to do this. If not, I will show you in the class how to manage that. But already we done, everything is finished. Only the point is you need to design the body and the footer. And you need to keep the content correctly fit into it along with some background, along with that background, body background, and you can keep these effects. You try this by yourself, then we will continue tomorrow with some more examples we will see now. Some more examples we will design with what we have learned with the borders and shading. Okay, right. I will post this exercise, right? So you try to do that. Up to certain part, what I have